A video game demo is something of a rarity in this day and age, but you know what, when I was but a wee lad, they were all the rage. Spying a plastic case on the front of a gaming magazine was basically an advert saying, "Pick me up, pal, we're gonna have a great old time." And it's true because the snippets of games on those discs really did provide hours and hours of free content. But you know what, some developers and publishers went one step further than a mere vertical slice with some gameplay, but did so in a way that made the demo self-contained, essential to the plot, or something completely unique that complemented the title overall. So let's take a look at them. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 amazing self-contained demos that are actually prequels. Number 8, Dead Rising Case Zero. Now, while it might be cheating a little bit to include a demo that fans actually had to pay for, there's no denying that the Dead Rising 2 standalone content, Case Zero and Case West, weren't utterly brilliant slices of gameplay. Set before the events of the second game, Case Zero especially held a lot of weight as it was the first chance that players had to get to grips with the new mechanics of the upcoming title. The ability to craft combo weapons was a huge improvement to the overall gameplay of the Dead Rising franchise, and the introduction to Katie's infection finally gave the timed nature of events much more meaning. Now it wasn't just a race against time that felt arbitrary, here you were trying to save your daughter from turning into a zombie. Capped off with a simple but still enjoyable battle with a crazed mechanic, Dead Rising Case Zero achieved exactly what it set out to do according to Keiji Inafune, the director of the game, which was to showcase a standalone introduction and actually let players experience the new features in a contextual manner. Plus, now we all know why Chuck was so driven to indulge in all the craziness of the zombie gladiatorial games, because here he's left with limited supplies and just one goal: keep Katie safe. Number 7, what's SHENMUE? For a game with such a rocky development past, as well as a huge hiatus between installments, the question of what's SHENMUE or SHENMUE is a very apt one. However, in typical SHENMUE fashion, rather than explain the key elements of the experience with a short vertical slice of the actual game, this demo went above and beyond, offering players a unique standalone quest, and it is utterly insane. I say this because the demo actually tasks you with tracking down Hidekatsu Yukawa, the real-life senior managing director of Sega at the time SHENMUE was released. On your quest, you're given insight into the game's combat system and deep exploration mechanics, and things culminate with you rescuing Mr. Sega from a thug who wanted to steal an advanced copy of SHENMUE itself. Pretty meta, right? Well, to top things off, Yukawa is also shown to wake up from a dream surrounded by Dreamcast boxes, and then vows to make SHENMUE a smash hit, implying that the events that we just played were actually just from his imagination. Therefore, technically, this demo isn't a prequel to the game's story, but the entire concept of the game itself. Number 6, The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. Now, while many would see the original Life is Strange as a story about friendship, choices, and ultimately living with your decisions, it's very easy to ignore that this is actually a superhero story about a young woman with some pretty incredible powers. Yet, it wasn't until the release of The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit that players are even aware that Max's condition was something not entirely unique to her alone. It was only when the players play through this short teaser scenario as Chris Erickson and see the manifestation of his own powers do we really understand the wider scope of the Life is Strange universe. This standalone demo perfectly dialed into what made Life is Strange so very special, namely a conflicted central lead, amazing musical selections, and of course a troubled backstory which shows emotional strife as the catalyst for some incredible powers. At the close of this experience, Chris witnesses 2 boys off in the distance who turn out to be the protagonists of Life is Strange 2, and now that they have witnessed his powers, their discussion about their own carries with it a weighty sense of connection. Well, assuming you chose to befriend the lad, that is, when you finally take up the reins. Number 5, The Stanley Parable Demonstration. So the Stanley Parable is not a title that does things by half measures, and this was made very clear from the start when a demo was dropped from the game before its worldwide release. As you might expect from a project that pretty much looks to dissect what it even means to be a game in general, the demo pretty much sought to do the same, opting not to showcase levels or sections from the final product, but instead present a new self-contained and very much self-aware scenario. In fact, the playable section is so meta that the only reason that we can term it as a demo is because of the fact that it calls itself a demo repeatedly and even addresses moments such as missing textures or the fact that certain things surely would be in the final game. Hell, the experiences were even customized for some outlets, meaning that some influencers had customized lines of dialogue and references played back to them, making for personalized demos, which is something I'm pretty sure no other game has ever done. Number 4, Resident Evil 7, Beginning Hour and Kitchen. With the impressive shift in action from third to first person, Resident Evil 7 was the refreshing sorbet experience that many were seeking out after the, let's just call it trifle in the trousers that was Resident Evil 6. Capcom was keen to push their flagship franchise and so put out several demos under the guise of VHS tapes that one could find littering the Baker family compound. The 3 demos, Beginning Hour, Kitchen, and Lantern, all sought to showcase new and horrifying features of the then upcoming title, and sought to do so in pretty different ways. Beginning Hour showcased the new perspective and style, pushing players through horribly dingy and confined spaces in order to create a piano-wire tense atmosphere. Lantern showed off that the upcoming game was going to have roaming antagonists that would track the player's movement, and finally Kitchen showcased the power of VR in a truly grim manner. Now, while Lantern was designed to be a standalone experience without impacting the canon, both Kitchen and Beginning Hour actually seek to fill the player in on the events that transpire before the main game starts, showcasing the deaths of the Sewer Gators film crew and, in the case of Kitchen, the horrible death of Anchorman Peter Walken. This was our first glimpse at the Baker family's twisted sense of hospitality, and let's just say we won't be sticking around for dinner. Number 3. Space Quest 6. As is pretty common for the Sierra Entertainment Group, the demo for Space Quest 6 is not one that takes itself all that seriously. In fact, from the opening passage of text alone, the experience denotes that it is very aware that it's a demo and that it's not going to waste your time explaining little things to you like the plot or characters, and instead presents you with a scenario where your crew has been disintegrated by the Bjorn. So a pretty standard day in the office then. It turns out, however, despite the demo's insistent that the events that take place have nothing to do with the main game, that there is actually a way that this could be seen as a prequel of sorts. You see, when the Bjorn arrive on your ship, themselves being a loose parody of the Borg, they temporarily remove all the crew in one go, and since the crew is unaware that this ever happened when you return them to normal, you're treated as if the events that transpired never happened. Typical, right? You saved the day yet again, and you're not even recognized for your efforts. Number 2. Final Fantasy XV Platinum Demo. You have to admire Square Enix when it comes to how they handle demos for their titles. Usually going above just a mere vertical slice, the publisher has time and time again made sure that eager fans are rewarded for their interest with unique scenarios and sometimes extra loot. To say that Final Fantasy XV was a big deal for Square Enix is kind of like saying that a chocobo is a rather large bird. Quite the understatement. And so the team went whole hog on promoting this monstrous RPG odyssey. This led to the creation of the Platinum Demo, a scenario that was set before the main game and would aim to showcase off not only the new and very fluid combat, but also give us an insight into our lead character Noctis. Here we are presented with a coma dream, a bizarre and fantastical setting that's caused by Noctis being attacked by a creature when he was just 8 years old. With the help of the adorable carbuncle, Noctis must overcome challenges and defeat the mighty Iron Giant in order to regain his consciousness. But what's interesting to note is that when the Iron Giant is bested, Noctis is actually restored to his adult self, and we're then shown that his car, the mighty Regalia, is actually his safe space due to its connection with his father. It's a rather touching moment that sets up the emotional through line of the main game incredibly well, and the fact that it's a hoot to play through in the first place makes the Platinum Demo very precious material indeed. And number 1, Half-Life Uplink. Now, while this entry could see noses be turned up at it by the Half-Life purists out there who deem it not to be canon, the fact that Half-Life Uplink is comprised almost entirely of cut content that would have made it into the final release but couldn't due to time constraints surely makes it at least worthy of evaluation. Here, stone-cold scientist and lover of punching people with his science fist, Gordon Freeman must help repair a relay device so that he can send a signal to an outside source in order to escape a facility that he's trapped in. As you might expect from anything with the Half-Life branding, the gameplay here is second to none. Liquid fast and pretty scary in places as headcrabs just leap out at you from the dark. It's actually such a polished experience that you might wonder why it was cut in the first place. Yet it's only when you see the ending of this short scenario do you fully understand what's actually going on. Depressingly, the action cuts just as it looks like Gordon is about to meet his maker, and we then see the ominous figure of the G-Man who assesses that they need more data before disappearing into the dark. It turns out that you weren't playing a slice of our Gordon's struggles, but an alternate reality in which he failed. Therefore, you could count this experience as a prequel, sequel, and parallel demo all at once. Pretty mind-bending, right? And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 amazing self-contained demos that are actually prequels. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice. That's Dice with a C, where I do all of my streaming outside of work and Warhammer Battle Reports and other board game related content. It'd be great to see you over there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. I hope you're treating yourself well. I hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, my friend, because you bloody well deserve it, alright? And do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise. Go out there and absolutely smash it today, you big ledge. I believe in ya. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.